Greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny. And today on the Who the Heavens I, well, it's not the Heavens I, Who the Heaven is I podcast, I have some special guests today. That's right. I got some trees. I got some dandelions, some buttercups, and, the river and all the creatures that live here in this forest. I am at the Lewis Woodlands in the 10990, and I thought it'd be nice just to connect with nature because this episode talks about some interesting things. I had some other topics I wanted to talk about today, but as you can see in the title, it's Sir Reality. Good day, sir. What is your reality? And I thought it'd be funny to do a surreality show, especially after what happened last night. So last night, out of nowhere, it wasn't like there was any sort of like message from scientists or NASA or anything like that. But out of nowhere, the Northern Lights appeared all over in places they normally don't appear. They appeared in New York. They appeared in Florida. Etc., etc. And so, I know that they happen in Alaska, and I know that they happen in, Iceland and areas over in Europe, but this was a new one, and it was where I was at. It was a little hazy. I didn't see them personally, and plus, it was late, and I was tired, and I was like, you know what, if it's going to happen again, then I'll get out and check it out. But this happened because of massive solar flares that are occurring right now. And so why do I bring this up? Well, scientists couldn't predict this thing. NASA couldn't predict this thing. They just happened, and all of a sudden it was there. Because if they could have predicted it, they would have said, hey, everyone, check out your the Northern Lights happening all across the USA. Just like the same way when we had that eclipse. Get your eclipse glasses, check out the eclipse. So something's happening in nature, something kind of cool. It's like, expect the unexpected, I think, is what the message of this surreality is, because it was kind of surreal to see people posting photos of the Northern Lights literally in a town that never, not to my knowledge, has ever seen them before. So I will have to confer with my my good friend, the Dr. Sattler, environmental scientist, and a person that opened me up to a different thought process on trees, as he told me when I saw him last, that trees communicate with each other using roots, and they help out the other trees. And that's a whole other episode. I think I might have even touched on it the other day. But I want to get back to where I'm going right now with this. One of the things that they had mentioned in the post that I saw about the solar flares is these solar flares could knock out communications and electronics. Dun, dun, dun! Well, what do you know? iJohnni said back in 2004, will be the day when electricity fails. And then there was this brownout in New York City, and it was kind of like, wow. And I've always said that, what happens when the systems fail? What is the reality we live then? Especially as most businesses are getting put into this modality of digital assets. Meaning, you go to the doctors and everything is digitized now. There's very little paper. I mean, they'll print you up a heck of a lot of paperwork on the way out. Paper here, paper there. And I think that's a CYA. Cover your assets. Because straight up, if they do not give you documentation when you leave, then it's kind of like, you can say, oh, well, you never told me. But in the same token, when you're signing the stuff, you don't see what you're signing. But that's not the point of the matter. The point of the matter is, power goes out, we lose communications, if this, all these towers and everything go out. But more importantly, doctors' records. gone, like the sands of time in the hourglass. Just if this hourglass broke, the sand's all over the desert. And my friends, creatures of the universe, gentlemen, ladies, this is something that Constradamus is seeing. And you know, I'm not going to be like Chicken Little and yell the sky is falling, because hey, I'd like to think we're all grown men and women, that we should be able to be conscious enough to understand that if we do not create a hybrid digital society as we go a million miles an hour into this technology world, there's going to be some severe repercussions, whether it be this week with all these solar flares, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And for me personally, it's something that I don't feel I should sit on my hands and just watch. So that's why, you know, I've gotten back into nature. I'm actively looking for a farming job. If you know anyone out there that runs an apple orchard or a farm, is looking for some you know, hands with the fruits and veggies and all that stuff, preferably early in the morning till you know, mid-afternoon or early afternoon, so that I could do my other stuff, like this kind of cool stuff, because I do want to be part earthen, but then I do like the technology. I'm like a hybrid dude, you know. Maybe I am an android. What if that, not the android like the phone type, but I'm saying, like, what if I was like, or a cyborg, you know, part man, part machine. Like, what if, you know, there's electricity running through my body, right? Now I know what you're all saying. Oh, Johnny's talking the crazy. But you know what? If we just talk the quote-unquote sane, for me personally, a lot of people are living insane, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And that is insanity. That's why I live in my sanity. So when someone says I'm insane, yes, I very much so am insane. I look at things logically. I look at things spiritually. Have some conversations with the God. I look up at the science stuff, and I make a spiritually educated decision on my maneuvers in my life. But right now, reality's getting a little funky fresh. So anyway, here's where I'm going with this. What if, and this is something I saw on Instagram the other day, back to the whole communication of the trees in the forest communicating using the roots. What if the planet itself was conscious? There's some signs of that. If you go Google it and get on Instagram or wherever you find your news sources, and I'm not saying mainstream media either, because that's all payola. You know, everyone, you know, they're just trying to sell titles that will you know, push their publications. And I'm talking about like independent sources. You know, there's some thought process to that. I'm not going to touch too much of that. What I wanted to get into is surreality. Is what is reality, right? Like, how do you define your reality? I said this to someone once, and they're like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Like, what if, you know, like when you go to bed, what really happens when you go to bed? Like, you don't know what happens. You close your eyes and you're out, you know? Does your soul transport up to the mothership, and then you get your data, and then you come back down? No. Hey, I know that sounds a little far-fetched, but there's a lot in this world we can't really explain. So with that being said, as a new school scientist, and you don't need to go to a school and get a degree to be a scientist. I think that there's a lot of great inventors and scientist-type people that spent time in solitude just exploring, analyzing, and breaking things down to understand that, hey, straight up, science comes from a theory, a hypothesis, and then you do a little research, and then you kind of figure things out. You do tests and this and that. So I'm doing the this, that, and the other thing. but I'm doing it on multiple levels. I'm doing it with some nature stuff. I'm doing it with some technology stuff, and I'm doing it with some social stuff. So, hey, it's fun. And I think when you're doing what I'm doing, which I don't think anyone couldn't do what I'm doing. It just it's kind of just like being exploratory and not letting the boundaries that we've been given, or the actual template for life, as the end all be all, because I think that things could always be better, at least in my life. Hey, if you're happy, you're good. Hey, you do you, and live happily ever after. But as I was eating my snack last night, CVS had a great deal on some trail mix type things, and they had this one really cool one that was an Asian one. But the point of the matter is, I'm having my snack, and I kind of felt like the hamster feeding myself, particularly like you see people buy like cat food, dog food, and they just they scoop it in the bowl, and then dog runs over there and goes chowing down, and that's it. Now the dog doesn't have opposable thumbs and fingers and stuff like that, so really the dog can't feed itself the same way. But you could get one of those things that where the dog puts its paw and the food comes down, but then you might get an FA dog, a fat arse, because then they might, they're bored. They're like, hey, I'm just going to eat again, this kibbles and bits or whatever they're feeding. And, it's pretty darn good. And I think that would be funny into itself. Finding a way to train your dog to feed itself, but only 3 times a day, maybe they can invent a timer one. I mean, I'm sure they do. There's so much stuff out there now. That's why, as much as technology can be crazy sometimes, there's some really cool things. And it's back to the Miyagi philosophy: balance, Daniel-san, balance. So what if we get into the whole thought process of manifestations, where you can really define your reality if you put your mind to it, and work towards any goal. If you look at a lot of people out there that have been successful chasing crazy dreams, that's how they did it, and I off the top of my head, Jim Carrey always comes up, wrote himself a check for $1 million and just focused on that. Jennifer Aniston, I caught a feed of her talking about, manifestation. So there's a lot of people out there that just, they believed in themselves. They put it on paper, they put it in their head, they focused on it, and they just worked towards it. And the challenge when you're doing something that people haven't seen before, or that people aren't believing that you can do, then they'll say, oh, who do you think you are? I have a friend, I'm not going to name his name, but I was comparing the projects I'm working on to a different artist. I'm not saying I was that person. Like, for example, I like David Bowie. He's an inspiration to me. He's an actor, he's a musician, and, on the surface, from his work, not saying personal life, he seems like a really cool guy. I've never hung out with him, never talked with him, and the reality is what you see on the camera isn't always what you get behind the scenes. But nonetheless, he is someone, some of his attributes that I would aspire to be like. Steve Jobs, on the outside, a very great innovator, a very great philosopher, and a thoughtful man that really goes out of his way to break things down, and using the Socratic method of why, he'll try to figure out, like, does this make sense? It doesn't make sense, like when he was first launching the Macs, there was the whole way they were building them, manufacturing them in China, and I remember reading somewhere that he was like to the accounting department, like, why are we doing it this way? He goes, well, that's the way it's done. He said it doesn't make sense. And I think by making some adjustments, they became more profitable. Now the challenge in much of society is, especially with small business, big business I think gets this, and that's how they become big, is if you have the I'm the boss, I'm the king, I'm the boss, I'm the queen mentality, and you're not an innovator, and things aren't working, and you don't see outside the box, how do you get outside the box? And I, personally, I've tried to share some outside the box thought process to really help businesses in ways that I know it would help them. I see where their goals are. I see where their opportunities are. I put opportunities to solutions to goals. But if it's not their idea, they don't want to do it. Sometimes they want to do it, but they don't think it's possible. And that's part of the problem right there. If you can't believe it, you'll never achieve it. And so back to defining your reality, if you surround yourself with people that don't believe in you, hey, you can take them off the friend list and put them on the acquaintance list, and, send them that Facebook happy birthday, give them a call once in a while just to see how they're doing in life because you love them and stuff like that. But that they're just going to be albatrossian anchors and holding you back from what you think is possible. I'm off the deep end, I know, but watch as I dive in. I'll never hit the ground. Crash to the surface where they can't hurt us. I'm far from the shallow now. And that's a song that motivated me. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be Bradley Cooper or Lady Gaga, but I aspire to achieve a level of their status, not from like, hey, I want to be famous and I want to make a ton of money, but I want to have my songs out there, share them with the universe. And once again, this isn't for me. If it was for me, then I'd just be sitting in my backyard playing the guitar and shutting it down and closing it out to the world. But I really feel that whether you believe in God, the universe, or the Matrix, something comes to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, makes me write a song, and I'm like, wow, this is something that could possibly help someone. And I think I've said it before in another episode, and if I did, that's the way it is. But it's a quick little thing that I did a public access show back in the mid-90s in Manhattan. Had an episode called How Do I Deal with Stress? Went to a place, bashed cars, and straight up thought it was silly fun, but there was some seriousness to it. Band appears on it, and months later they meet up with me and go, hey, thank you so much for that, because our friend was in the hospital, sad, leukemia patient, and she hadn't laughed in a while, and then she saw all your stuff and she couldn't stop laughing. So this is why I do what I do. Now, I don't know if you're going to laugh at what I'm doing right now, although it could be kind of funny, like Johnny'sAJoke.com. But nonetheless, I really feel that if you took the time to honestly, like, not with judgment, but with just seriousness, listen to what I'm saying, even if you have to replay it and say, that kind of makes sense. Because in the 1960s, there was no man on the moon in 1961, right? And even though there's a debate that whether we got on the moon or not, the reality is we built spaceships, we sent people to space. So let's go with that. If we can do that, what can we do if collaboratively, the collective consciousness got together and was able to say, here's an opportunity, here's a solution, let's run with this. If we were able to do that by the Y3K, I know, Jupiter and Mars and Venus might be upset with me saying this, but this might become the best planet in the universe if we were able to cohesively come together and start our trajectory for the Y3K. If we get there earlier, great. I'll have milestones across the way, but I really feel that there's got to be a way for us to live a better hybrid digital analog lifestyle. So we have the nature, we have the earth, and the trees still can stand. But in the same token, we got some tech, because let's think about it. If we didn't have technology, we'd be, either riding horses, walking by foot, or what? What would we be doing? strapping eagles to our feet and using sheets as a kite and trying to fly around. I mean, come on, that's cray. Anyway, that being said, once I'm able to get more financially sound, and I'm saying at a high volume, one of the podcasts I'm working on developing, and you don't got to sign the non-disclosure agreement here, but it's a surreality where people will pitch me the ideas of their perfect life, and using modern technology like blue screens and AI art and actors and stuff like that, we will create an episode of their reality that they can watch and then feel. And I believe that could help them achieve a greater goal in life. Well, that'll help them achieve their goal in life. Maybe not to the exact way that they want, but first off, if you can see it, then it becomes more tangible. And I think a lot of people aren't utilizing their imagination and their mind's eye to envision the life that they want. I do. I'll sit there and there's that house on the beach. I always go back to Michael from Melrose's Place's house. Like, it was really nice. Like, him and Kimberly, and I know that was a crazy relationship and everything, but they'd walk out on the deck, or him and Jane. But regardless, they'd walk out on the deck and they'd have that beach where the sun would set, and it was beautiful. Now, I kind of feel that would be nice in the state of Florida, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, to be able to watch the sunrise, sunset. But I don't know if I'm down with having 1 million houses, and if I did, I would totally Airbnb them all, to give other people opportunities to live there, because I don't need to have property just sitting there. But I do think it's cool to have my space with my stuff set up, because I don't know if you figured this out by now, but I can be somewhat of a complex individual, and living out of a suitcase while I've been doing it for quite some time, it takes a toll on your fluidity and your ability to set a solid foundation. For the past year plus, I've been like a mighty morphing middle-aged morphing Tai Chi tortoise. Where is my half shell? There we go. I did it. I'll try that again. Middle-aged morphing Tai Chi tortoise. Where is my half shell? Yeah. That one's something I'm working on for SNYL. I know I got a lot of ideas, and that's why the space I'm creating, this creation station, they're going to come to life, because they're already starting to. Just walking down the street, the universe is kind of putting people in my path that can align and help people of positive vibes, similar mindset, and that's kind of what you need when you're creating your own surreality. And so with that, young folks, old folks, creatures of the universe, I am going to go forth and bring into this a song that I wrote back in like 1999 or the year 2000. It was with my keyboard, the Yamaha DJX. I love that keyboard so much. I still have it in a storage unit. Needs to get fixed because a couple of the keys are not functional. But I crafted some really cool songs. And this one here, I'm even going to sing it because I'm outside. Maybe the trees will want to hear me. Here we go. This is Reality. Are you ready for this? I wonder if I can do this a certain way and see. Hold on a second here. This would be cool if I can do this. Unbeknownst to some of you, I'm actually, I can do it. While I'm recording this podcast, I started recording video too, just to see where I can go with it. And maybe you'll catch it out on my YouTube channel. Here we go. Reality. Get the breath work going first. I should have warmed up, but I didn't. But hey, I'm kind of warm. Constantly drifting through space and time, subconscious shape-shifting of the mind. All the answers which you seek have already been found. All that's left to do is in the silence of their sound. Reality will never be real unless you act upon the emotions you feel. Reality will never be real unless you act upon emotions that you feel. Patiently observing human interaction, undoubtedly deserving greater satisfaction. All the answers which you seek are what makes the world go round. All that's left to do is to settle brand new ground. Reality will never be real unless you act upon the emotions you feel. Reality will never be real unless you act upon emotions that you feel. I love that song. It's like one of my babies. So people ask you, "Oh, which one of your favorite songs?" It's like like my kids. You know, they're all my favorites. You know, I love my kids. So why would I say one is better than the other? It's not about better. They're unique in their own ways, and I think that's us. I won't get into the song Rainbow Star Cell, but we're all supposed to be us. And if you're really not living authentically, if you feel like you're just doing things for the sake of doing them, just take 15 minutes, sit outside, take your shoes off, put your feet in the ground, touch the good earth, and think, what does my heart and soul really say to me? What should I be doing? It might not come in 1 minute, but grab a piece of paper, grab a journal, grab a scrapbook and start drawing, or you can do what I do, just write songs when you've got inspirations coming to you, because that's my reality, is just be you. Thank you for listening. And question of the day. Okay, so let's do this. What, and this is such an existential question, what is your reality? Boom. And then the poll of the day is going to be, do you believe in manifestation? There we go. Those are our poll questions. You can always just call or text the Cool Line at 650-383-7469. That you could, it's a line I have set up just for fun stuff like this, serious stuff like this, and anything like this. But if you go to the Spotify app, you can click on the links and answer the poll question. Poll questions stay open all the way to the end of the year. I'm going to tally them at the end of the year and do a recap. And then there is, in fact, a question of the day that you can put on there too. And if you're in the Spotify app, or if you're on Spotify.com, you can definitely click on a place where you can leave me a voicemail there too. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do. And smash that like button and subscribe. Because your listener support is much appreciated. So thank you for your time, and time keeps on slipping into the future, so the future is now.